Hello everyone, this is the moment we've all been waiting for. With the year coming to an end, it's finally time to rank the best Metroidvania games of the year 2025. These are the titles that stood out above the rest. Well, let's get into the list. Shadow Labyrinth is not a game for everyone. It drops you into a harsh world with almost no guidance, no quest markers, no clear direction. Just you, a deadly map, and relentless enemies. You'll spend hours exploring, fighting, and dying, trying to piece together where to go next. And sometimes, after all that struggle, you'll end up right back where you started. The combat is just as punishing. The bosses may only have a few attacks, but they hit incredibly hard. Mess up your timing even once, and it's over. There's no button mashing here. You learn the patterns or you fail, and just when you think you've won, that same boss returns, tougher than before.
You wield your weapon well.
Possessors is a fun and familiar Metroidvania experience done well. It doesn't try to change the genre, but its strong combat and surprisingly good story make up for its weaker exploration. The game takes place in a massive city ripped apart by a demonic invasion. Portals open, demons pour in, and chaos takes over. You play as Luca, a teenage girl caught in the disaster. She's gravely injured and watches her best friend get murdered. At the brink of death, she meets Rem, a dying demon who needs a host to survive. Rem offers a deal. Let him possess her body, and he'll save her life, and give her the power to fight back and escape the city. In terms of gameplay, the combat is fast, stylish, and combo-heavy. You will fight using everyday objects powered by demonic energy, things like kitchen knives, sunglasses, and even a computer mouse. Adventure of Samsara is Atari's latest retro revival, reimagining the classic adventure from the Atari 2600. But this time, it's a full-on Metroidvania with a touch of Souls-like flavor. The first thing that grabbed my attention in Adventure of Samsara was its visual style. Not just the beautiful 2D pixel art, but the wider camera view. It instantly makes the game feel different from most Metroidvanias. The world also feels alive thanks to its towns. NPCs each have their own personality, some joke about your silence, others hand out quests that expand the game's lore and history. ReSetna is one of those hidden Metroidvania gems that can really catch you off guard. The combat and exploration feel smooth and satisfying, but what truly sets it apart is the chip system. You can mix and match different abilities to create your own builds, leading to some really fun and clever combos that add a solid layer of strategy. Another thing worth praising is the dev team. They genuinely listen to the community, and it shows. Player feedback has led to major improvements since the game's first launch. In addition to that, the level design is also a standout. Every area feels distinct, packed with secrets, and the platforming can be surprisingly challenging in the best way. Lone Fungus Melody of Spores is a beautiful Metroidvania made entirely by one person. And honestly, that alone is incredible. This game is the second part of the Lone Fungus series, and visually it's a huge step up from the first. Everything looks more detailed, more colorful, and more alive. The game is also very player-friendly. Save points are placed right next to every boss, and every save point can be turned into a fast travel spot, letting you teleport straight from the map. Best of all, you don't lose anything when you die. Because of that, even the hardest sections never felt frustrating, no matter how many tries they took. Story-wise, this game is a prequel to Lone Fungus, but you don't need to play the original to enjoy it.
INAYAH, Life After Gods.
INAYAH Life After Gods is a fresh Metroidvania from a new studio made up of industry veterans from Blizzard, Disney, and more. First off, the game looks fantastic. The hand-drawn art and smooth animations make every moment feel polished and satisfying. The combat and platforming are responsive as well, especially when everything clicks. Where INAYAH really shines, though, is its gameplay choices. Early on, you pick one of 3 weapons: fast dual blades, powerful fists, or a slow but heavy flail. Each weapon isn't just for combat, they also change how you explore the world, and because you can swap between them at any time, platforming starts to feel like a fun, creative puzzle instead of just moving from point A to B.
Our story tells of INAYAH's search for her lost tribe. She is accompanied by Sputnik, a small, upgradable drone that helps our warrior.
Twilight Monk sticks to the classic Metroidvania loop we all love. Explore, unlock new powers, and return to areas you couldn't reach before. But it adds a cool twist with its monster hunting system. Each time you defeat enough of a specific enemy, you can turn that progress into permanent upgrades or bonus slots. There are over 85 enemies to hunt, including bosses. It's not revolutionary, but it gives you a good reason to keep fighting instead of running past everything. Another standout feature is the overworld map. It works a lot like classic Final Fantasy games. Between dungeons, you travel across a large world map, which adds a strong sense of classic RPG adventure. Super Roboy is a fun and surprisingly solid indie Metroidvania. The game starts off simple. You can jump, shoot, and aim, but before long, new powers start rolling in, and they come fast. The game hands out upgrades at a steady pace so things never feel slow or boring. You also unlock new abilities by defeating enemies and collecting crystals, which you can then use to power yourself up even further. One thing I really appreciate is the difficulty options. Hard mode doesn't just give enemies more health, it actually makes them smarter. They move faster, attack more aggressively, and really keep you on your toes. Mark of the Deep is an isometric Souls-like Metroidvania with a strong pirate theme. The combat is where the game really shines. It follows a Souls-like approach, where dodging and timing matter more than button mashing. You have to read enemy movements, wait for openings, and strike only when the moment is right. You do have a ranged weapon, but the game clearly encourages close quarters combat, using your hook to pull in, slash, and stay aggressive. Another standout is the world and its characters. The voice acting is excellent, and I found myself doing side quests just to hear more from them.
If you prove worthy to receive it.
Sometimes the best indie games don't play it safe. They throw wild ideas at the wall and somehow make them work. Metro Gravity is exactly that kind of game. It's a crazy mix of puzzles, rhythm, parries, and massive boss fights, all packed into a 3D Metroidvania. The game's big twist is that gravity isn't fixed. Down is always based on the last surface you touched. Walk up a wall, and suddenly that wall becomes the floor. The entire world is built around this idea, with twisting corridors, floating mini-planets, and spaces where up and down barely matter, and that leads to some genuinely brilliant puzzles. Gal Guardian Servants of the Dark really shines as a co-op Metroidvania. In this game, you can play as two characters, Karika, who fights from a distance using demon guns, and Masha, who gets up close with her whip. Both characters feel well balanced. They share the same HP, but each has unique combat skills, so both are fun to play, and no one feels like the sidekick. And on top of that, the map is massive, and nearly every room hides secret paths, treasures, or alternate routes. It can feel a bit overwhelming at first, but honestly, that just makes exploration more exciting.
Their story of revenge and revival.
DragonLoop is a stylish indie Metroidvania built around time loops. Here's the game's setup. Every upgrade, resource, and bit of progress you earn carries over through the time loops. This isn't a roguelite where everything resets, you will keep your progress. The time loop itself works like this. You start on day 1, and each time you reach a checkpoint called a time gate, the day advances, day 2, day 3, all the way to day 5. After that, the loop resets back to day 1. Your goal is to jump between these different days, explore shifting timelines, and hunt down 9 memory fragments. Even when you hit a dead end, it never feels wasted. You're always uncovering new areas, gathering resources, or unlocking cool new abilities along the way. I love games that pull from real history or mythology, and Somber Echoes does exactly that. It's a dark fantasy Metroidvania set in space with deep roots in Greek mythology. Exploration is where this game really shines. As you progress, your character unlocks new abilities that completely change how you move. One of the biggest is the Ether Lantern. It lets you fly across huge gaps and reach areas that were previously impossible to access. At first, you have to recharge it by touching the ground, but later upgrades give you more uses and far more freedom. The map itself is massive, and some areas are incredibly vertical, and to the point where it feels like you'll never reach the ceiling. Shantae is back in a long-lost adventure that's finally seeing the light of day, more than 20 years after it was first created. Originally developed as a Game Boy Advance title, the game features classic pixel art that looks fantastic. The character portraits use the half-genie hero style, but with proportions closer to Pirate's Curse. As for the story, it takes place between the original Game Boy Color game and Risky's Revenge. It's a simple setup, but it's packed with the fun dialogue, humor, and charm that Shantae fans know and love. Chronicles of the Wolf is a Castlevania game in everything but name. The visuals, the music, the combat, it all feels like a classic entry from the series. Now let's be honest, Chronicles of the Wolf doesn't try to reinvent the wheel. It plays things safe and sticks very close to the Castlevania formula. But here's the important part. It nails the gameplay perfectly. It's challenging, tightly designed, and once the world opens up, it becomes genuinely fun. The opening hours are a bit slow and straightforward, but the deeper you go, the larger the map becomes, the tougher the fights get, and that's when the game really starts to shine. O is a short but clever puzzle-focused Metroidvania where your only tool is bombs. But here's the twist. Bombs aren't just for blowing things up. They open hidden paths, solve clever puzzles, and even help you move through the world. The entire game is built around discovering creative ways to use a single ability in surprisingly deep ways. There's no text, no tutorials, and no hand-holding. Just pure discovery. Every puzzle teaches you to think differently, and the more you play, the more you realize just how much you can do with a simple bomb. Primal Planet might be my favorite Metroidvania of the year. It has friendly dinosaurs, gorgeous pixel art, and yes, you can hug your wife. In this game, you play as a tough but lovable caveman living peacefully in the jungle with your family and your pet dinosaur, Sino. Everything's calm, until alien robots suddenly crash the party and turn your world upside down. There's no dialogue, but the story is easy to follow. You're on a journey to save your family and uncover the mystery behind the alien technology. The game just oozes a lot of charm. Guns of Fury is what you get when a Metroidvania collides with a classic run-and-gun shooter like Metal Slug. At first, it feels like pure run-and-gun chaos. You're blasting enemies, triggering explosions, and pushing forward at full speed. But before long, the map opens up, and that's when the Metroidvania side really kicks in. You start unlocking new paths, finding upgrades, and picking up a whole arsenal of weapons, pistols, shotguns, rocket launchers, and even grenades. All of it comes together with tight, responsive controls. Running, jumping, and aiming, it all just feels great. Zexion is a fantastic retro-style Metroidvania that feels like it came straight out of the classic Metroid era, but with some fresh, modern ideas. The gameplay focuses on twin-stick shooting. You move with one stick and aim with the other. It might feel a bit strange at first, but once it clicks, it's smooth, responsive, and really fun. Just a quick heads up though, Zexion can be pretty challenging, but if that's not your thing, no worries, there are plenty of accessibility options that let you enjoy the experience at your own pace. Team Ladybug delivers yet another banger. Blade Chimera feels a lot like Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and that's absolutely a good thing. The pixel art is stunning. Characters, bosses, and backgrounds are all packed with detail and style, making this one of the best-looking 2D games out there. Furthermore, the gameplay feels great as well. You wield a living sword named Lux, which helps you fight enemies and even jump off walls during platforming sections. It takes a little time to get used to, but once it clicks, it feels incredibly satisfying. Pipistrello and the Cursed Yoyo is best described as a Yoyovania. It's a Metroidvania, but instead of the usual sword or gun, your main weapon is a yo-yo. Yes, a yo-yo, and the game fully commits to it. You throw it, bounce it off walls, chain tricks together, and even take down bosses using wild yo-yo moves. But here's the clever twist. You're actually playing the game on a fake handheld console inside the game. It looks like a retro Game Boy Advance, complete with screen borders, buttons, and even a cartridge sticking out the back. It's a fun meta touch that gives the whole experience a strong retro vibe. Mandragora Whispers of the Witch Tree sounds like a dream game on paper. It blends dark medieval fantasy with Metroidvania-style exploration, backtracking, and ability unlocks, while also delivering Souls-like combat with stamina management and stat-scaling weapons, all wrapped in a gorgeous hand-painted art style. What really sets Mandragora apart is its character-building system. You can choose from 6 different classes, and each one plays very differently. On top of that, there's a full skill tree where you unlock new abilities and buffs. Some upgrades feel small, sure, but overall it adds a lot of depth, variety, and replay value. Despite being a recent release, Constance is a Metroidvania you should definitely check out. In Constance, you play as a girl exploring her own mind. Not in a metaphorical way, literally. The entire game takes place inside a massive mind palace, a beautiful but broken world that represents burnout, stress, and inner demons. Your only weapon is a paintbrush, and with it, Constance jumps, dashes, and fights her way through the physical form of her declining mental health. It's a heavy theme, but the game presents it through stunning 2D action and platforming. The story hits emotional notes similar to games like Celeste, with quiet moments between intense platforming sections. Ender Magnolia Bloom in the Mist doesn't reinvent the Metroidvania formula, but it absolutely improves on what Ender Lilies started. And in many ways, it's simply better. It's a really gorgeous Metroidvania, the kind of game that makes you stop, sit still, and just soak in the atmosphere. And honestly, it's been a long time since a game made me do that. Beyond the atmosphere, the game offers deep RPG mechanics with plenty of upgrades to experiment with. Just like in Ender Lilies, you collect homunculi that function as both your weapons and movement abilities. You'll also find items that boost your stats or unlock new skills, and you level up often enough to feel constant progress. Everything feels smooth, polished, and well-balanced. Before we get to number 1 on this list, here is one honorable mention. Revenge of the Savage Planet is back, and it's bigger, weirder, and way more fun. This 3D Metroidvania-style sequel takes everything from the first game and cranks it up. The story is packed with over-the-top humor, fake commercials, and ridiculous characters that take shots at greedy corporations. One quick heads up for hardcore Metroidvania fans, this isn't a single, tightly connected world. Instead, the game is split into 5 large zones. Still, the mix of exploration, upgrades, and unlockable paths keeps things fun and engaging throughout the game. Of course, sitting at number 1 is Hollow Knight Silksong. After more than 7 years of quiet development, Team Cherry has finally delivered, and even after such a long wait, the game truly lives up to the hype. Just like the previous game, Silksong drops you into a massive Metroidvania world, but this time everything feels more detailed, more alive. Hornet is faster, more agile, and incredibly fun to control. But the enemies? They hit hard. Most bugs now have massive health bars, and nearly everything deals 2 masks of damage instead of 1. The early game is brutal, forcing near-perfect dodges and sharp focus. And yet, despite the game's difficulty, Silksong keeps pulling me back again and again. That's all for today's list. Subscribe and like for more new exciting Metroidvania games. That's it, and see you next time.